There's our guy, Michael Baiamonte. I've done a video with him before. I can tell you an interesting story about the sound waves behind him. That's a good piece of art. But Mike Baiamonte is with us, and he's on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Just to take you behind the scenes here for a second, we have a private chat for guests and hosts who are entering the program. And Solana put on the chat when Mike B had signed in, "Hey, Mike B, we'll be back in about 3 minutes," which is just a whiff of epic proportions on the chat. So Mike B writes back, "Dos minutos would have been better." And it was so easy. It was sitting there for you, Solana, and you completely whiffed on that. You literally told him 3 minutes. Why wouldn't you drop a dos minutos on him?
Because you can imagine I don't want to use too many jokes before the interview starts. So
anyway, Michael Baiamonte is joining us here on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. He's been the public address announcer for the Miami Heat for 35 years. He is hanging up his microphone after this season, which is rapidly coming to a conclusion. And the Heat honored Mike B at the game this weekend. And we wanted to make sure that we brought you on to thank you for your 3.5 decades of being the soundtrack to Miami Heat games at the arena. So first, before we do anything, allow us to give you your flowers, Mike, because you've really been a part of this Heat experience for 35 seasons. Hard to believe, huh?
It is really hard to believe, Hawk. It's been an incredible journey, one that when I first got the gig, if you ever said to me, "Hey, this thing's going to last 35 years and you're going to have announced over 1,600 games and 6 NBA finals," I see, you're out of your mind. But when you find a great job with a great organization and you get along as well as we did, and the South Florida community accepted me, it has just been amazing. It's been fantastic.
How did you get the job? How did you end up as the public address announcer for the Miami Heat?
So I was announcing college ball at FIU, and I was working in corporate America. And so I'm in the insurance business by day. I'm announcing college basketball at night. And one day I'm sitting at my desk at work, my day job, and the phone rings, and it's Mark Prey from the Miami Heat. And he says to me,
"Oh, he used to be the UMSID, I think, right?"
He had been, right before he was with the Heat, he was with the Washington at the time, the Washington Bullets. Then he came to Miami. I believe he did spend some time with UM as well. He says, "Mike, our announcer is sick. Can you fill in and announce the Heat game tonight?" So I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course. Absolutely I can." So I went down to this is back in the day, the Miami Arena, 1990. And I announced the Heat against the Seattle Supersonics. The Seattle Supersonics don't exist anymore. I think they may pretty soon again.
Yeah.
But they went on to become now what people would know as the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I announced the Heat and the Supersonics. I get through the game. Think I did a pretty good job. Don't remember any kind of big mess ups or anything. And the next day, I get a phone call from Mark who says, "We'd like you to be our permanent backup." Great. I'll take it. I'll take the gig. So a year later, the guy who had the primary job leaves to take over a family business. They open up the auditions again. I re-audition, or I audition really for the first time. All I had done was that one fill-in game. And I would say about a month after my audition, I get a phone call from a name everyone knows. At the time, he was an intern, I believe, still, Andy Ellisberg. And Andy Ellisberg calls me up and says, "We'd like to offer you the job as our primary PA announcer if you'll have it." And I took the job right there on the phone with Andy, and that was 35 seasons ago.
And Mike, I've actually looked at the back of your head a number of times. I've walked out the Grey Goose Lounge and stared at the back of your head. I've walked out of Hyde Lounge and looked at you in the face. You didn't know I was staring at you, but I was staring at you. But the hardest part of this job is dealing with Hawk. What's the hardest part of being the PA announcer for the Heat? One of those times, I was back with Wade and Shaq. I go way back then. That's when I got down here in 05 and 06 season. But what's the hardest part of doing what you've done for 3 decades?
You know, Crowder, that answer's probably changed over time. Like with anything, you do it long enough, things change. I would say it's something that probably fans don't really recognize, but this transition from back when I first started, when players would come in off the bench to want to check in the game while they're waiting until a stoppage in play, they would sit down on the floor. And they don't do that anymore. Now everybody stands up. And the coaches encroach closer and closer to half court. And if I've got 2 Heat guys checking in and 2 guys from the other team, and I've got 2 coaches and I've got referees, I can't see a damn thing.
That's funny.
Mike, when you're preparing for a new player and how you're going to pronounce his name, what was the biggest challenge with that? Did you just kind of go with something, say it out loud, and say, I like this? Because, I've asked you this before. Did you ever get tired of saying Dwyane Wade's name? But when he's drafted, even though he's a 5th overall pick, you can't imagine the impact he's going to have. You're going to say Dwyane Wade's name 20,000 times over the next 20 years. And had you not had that iconic call, maybe you wouldn't have had that same punch. Maybe you would have had to have changed it when he reached the level he did. There's just so many different layers to that. How hard do you have to really practice somebody's name before you say that's how it's going to work?
Yeah, Solana, there is, for me at least, there is an art to how I'm going to announce players' names. Now, the example you bring up with Dwyane Wade is extremely interesting because drafted by the Heat. And when we drafted him, we had no idea Dwyane Wade was going to become Dwyane Wade. But he did.
Chills.
A lot of the guys that came to the Heat, we kind of already knew who and what they were, right, especially if they came as free agents or they came in trades. But the one thing that was always important to me, regardless of how they came to the Heat, was that there was some uniqueness to the way I said each name so that they don't all sound the same. Because if they all sound the same, then nothing has anything to it. And so I look at a player's name, I look at the syllables in the name, and then I think about what can I do with that player that maybe represents him a little bit, or maybe does something a little different to stand out that I didn't do for other players. So, for example, when Shaq came, his nickname, one of the many that he had, was the Diesel. And so I came up with this thought in my mind that I would say his name and kind of make it sound almost like an engine. So that's where the whole Shaquille O'Neal came in. With Zoe, it was, it just had to be powerful. Alonzo Mourning. And then Alonzo Mourning slam dunk morphed into good morning.
Did you have to get those approved? Because with Shaq, it was diesel power on the assists.
I will tell you this. Now that we're coming close to saying sayonara, I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I lived by the adage that it was easier to ask for forgiveness than it was to ask for permission.
The best way to go through life.
I and that may work in everything in life, but I would drop it, and then I would kind of side eye looking over. Is anybody coming over? Is anybody mad at me? If nobody said anything, then guess what? It was good. That's how a Clarence Weatherspoon assist became spoon-fed. The first time I dropped that, I'm like, oh, man, somebody's going to come and nail me for that. But they loved it. And so we got pretty lucky.
What about a guy, Mike? It's so cool to talk to. Like a guy like you, D. I don't say journeyman, but didn't think he was going to be what he is for the organization. And you always have to go for like he's just another guy on the 15 to he is a staple in South Florida sports. Do you change your approach to UD as you see his career mature?
Crowder, I really didn't. I looked at the syllables in his name and how it would work. And the interesting thing about his name is the U in his first name, at least to me. that's where I really thought I could get a good ignition whenever I said his name. So that's when we started, Udonis. And then once I did that, I said, well, if we're going to do that, then we got to bring it back down. So it was Udonis Haslam. We got to have that temperature thing going. There you go up.
Heard that 100 times.
You want to play piano bar for us? Someone wants to hear Luol Deng on the chat.
It's funny. I joke with people all the time. I'm like the human jukebox, right? Like the pressing, Heat 33, do Alonzo Mourning, But it depends. Which Luol Deng do they want? Do they want the Heat Luol Deng or do they want the visiting Luol Deng?
No, we want the visiting Luol Deng.
Luol Deng.
The best. I absolutely love that. Luol Deng. Give us your Mount Rushmore of Mike Baiamonte calls. So 4 of them, because you could make a case for so many of them. Solana, your favorite is what? Too Many Steps? Because you drop that all the time.
I have my top 5 Mike B calls in the Solana household if we have time for them. I don't know.
Can you knock it down to 4 and give us your Mount Rushmore? What you got to take one off.
Okay, Mike, when Hawk says you're the soundtrack of the Heat, I'm not kidding. Like, this is multiple generations in the Solana household going to every Heat game, and you are the soundtrack. Like, my brother is devastated that you're not going to be there. When you used to introduce Eddie Jones, followed by Damon, you wouldn't say Jones. I don't know why. We got a kick out of that.
Well, that can't be on the Mount Rushmore.
Roster. That's our Mount Rushmore.
No, but I don't want your Mount Rushmore. I want the Mount Rushmore.
These are deep cuts, man.
I don't want deep cuts. We're doing the biggest hits of the last 35 years. You're giving me B-sides.
When you would say, now arriving to the American Airlines Arena, which changed for some reason. Then you went to now pulling into the American Airlines Arena.
Solana's doing a different show, Mike B. I apologize.
Are you listening?
What are your Mike B? What are your
address that now arriving at the American Airlines Arena? I thought matched with American Airlines because flights arrive, so that's why I came up with the now arriving at American Airlines Arena. But
Solana's doing a South Beach session.
I don't want Solana to hijack the show here.
Let's
get to the top 4. I'll give you mine. Number 4. No basket.
Yeah, that's got to be on there.
So crazy.
Number 3. Too many steps.
We all hear it in our head.
You gotta have the Fred Flintstone.
Who fires off that sound?
That comes up from upstairs.
Do they ever miss it?
Oh, they do, and boy, does that make me mad.
I bet, right? You're waiting for the drum solo, and then the drummer's asleep at the wheel.
Number 2. And now, stand up and make some noise for your Miami Heat.
And we all know what number 1 has to be, right? Do we all know it?
I think we can all probably do it together. 2 minutes. Dos minutos. That's it. That's
a good Mount Rushmore.
Better than Solana.
That is.
What did you think of Solana's deep cuts? What else did you have on your deep cuts list, Solana?
I had Luol Deng.
Yeah, that's a great one. That is a great one.
Mario Chalmers.
I've got one for Hawk and Crowder. I don't know if Solana would know this one, but this is going way back. One of my favorites, a cult favorite. Bimbo Coles.
That is a great one. Did you workshop any other Dwyane Wade introductions? Like, could we have heard something else over the years? Because it's so iconic to us. D-Wade,
Yeah.
But was there something else in the holster that maybe could have been the signature call?
I don't remember there being any kind of alternative, Hawk, because his last name is so short that I almost had nothing else to do but elongate it. So
right.
I said, you know what? If we're going to elongate the last name, we're already elongating the first name. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be so long that he's going to score a basket. By the time I finish saying Wade, the other team's already scored and coming back the other way, But listen, He's the only player ever in my 35-year career that no matter when I said his name or how I said his name, checking in the game, checking out the game, scoring a basket, committing a foul at the foul line, anytime the name Dwyane Wade came out of my mouth into the microphone, the crowd went bananas.
Yeah.
No matter what. And I never had a player like that before him or since. Never will.
Mike, you have to have announcers fatigue with a guy like Wade or some of those guys. You say his name 7,000 times.
Or Bam on 83.9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that. Although, he did score a lot of free throws. That helped me out a little bit that night. But, to tell you, Crowder, a funny story about that, Wade comes back as a member of either Chicago or Cleveland. The first time he's with a team other than the Heat, I've said, Dwyane Wade all my life. That game, that first game when he came back as a visitor, I'll never forget. Every time he would make a shot, I really took in my head a quick beat to say, doesn't play for the Heat anymore. Doesn't play for the Heat anymore. So all of a sudden, Dwyane Wade became Dwyane Wade. It was just so strange.
Strange.
So strange.
Did you ever go into the lab thinking, all right, I got to make this one work. This guy's going to be a star here, and I've got to really come up with something with a flourish. And so you spend 6 hours working on an intro for Mike Bibby, and then all of a sudden you find, hey, this guy ain't going to play. This guy's going to be out. Why did I spend all this time coming up with a big intro for Mike Bibby?
There certainly over the course of my career and all the games, there's been players that, you expected to be something that they eventually did not become. The good news for me is no matter how I said their name, if they didn't perform on the court, I didn't have to say their name. So, I mean, you didn't hear it very much if they either were on the bench or they weren't playing the game too well. So that really was never much of a problem. And I don't know that I would ever have disrespected a player by changing the way I say his name, because my interpretation of how he was playing the game was, man, this guy's terrible. I'm not going to say his name.
Mike Bibby.
Quick. I know we're running short on time.
Yeah.
Has a player ever addressed the way you say it, or has anybody ever addressed you as a player standpoint to you like, hey, you're putting the emphasis on a place I don't want the emphasis?
So I have one Heat player and one visiting player, if we have time for these. The Heat player is a guy by the name of John Sally, another old school player, John Sally. John Sally got traded, signed with the Heat, and before he ever played a second for the team, he came up to me and he said, my name is Spider Sally. You never call me John. You always announce me as Spider Sally. So he was Spider Sally for his entire Heat career with me. On the flip side, the Orlando Magic had a player that everybody commonly knew as Bo Outlaw. And Bo Outlaw was just a brute of a guy. I mean, just a big guy. Well, I came to find out that his given name was Charles. So the first time he came to Miami, he's in the starting lineup. I introduced him as Charles Outlaw, not Bo Outlaw. Well, he didn't like that much at all. So he came over to me at the scorer's table and he says, hey, my name's not Charles. My name's Bo. Only my mom calls me Charles. Well, I've got some, I think I got a little something for him. Plus, I've got the scorer's table between he and I. So that gives you a little bit more. So I said, you know what? You're playing in Miami. I'm the PA guy. Your name is Charles, and I'm going to introduce you as Charles. And so he kind of stares at me and gives me that sneer. Every time he came to Miami, he was introduced as Charles Outlaw. And he would look over and we would lock eyes and laugh with each other. And it became a great joke, a fun thing. But that's really the two stories when players wanted to.
Great story. All the guys in the league to step to. You step to Bo Outlaw.
Well, again, like I said, when I got the scores table between he and I, it's, I got an easy out backwards. He's got to go over the top of the table.
What great stories, man. Well, Mike Baiamonte, we just have always, I think I speak for all of Heat Nation, been fans of yours. The waveform behind you, by the way, on that piece of art, what is that waveform?
So that is my voice waves saying the iconic "and now stand up and make some noise for your Miami Heat." That was a gift from my wife and daughters for my birthday. They grabbed the track. They sent it off to voiceart.com, and that is hanging up in my home. It's very cool.
It's super cool. I've seen that before when I've done video with him.
Yes.
It's a super cool backdrop. I love that. What are your plans?
So it's the next chapter of life, Hawk. My wife and I recently became grandparents for the first time. Our kids live all around the country. They're very successful. South Florida is not in the cards. So we're going to go and visit them a lot more, see our grandson a lot more. And as I like to tell people, after 35 years, I'm ready to do what I want to do when I want to do it, not when the schedule says I can or can't do it. So
When you're going somewhere with your wife, do you ever drop a dos minutos when it's like 2 minutes till you have to leave?
I'll be very honest about that. Do I? No. Does she? Yes.
Yeah,
She is.
all right.
She is a huge fan, and she will drop a dos minutos anywhere at any time for any reason.
How many like bar mitzvahs and weddings and stuff have you announced over the 35 years?
Hundreds. There have been so many, Hawk, and that little cottage industry started. Once I had gained some reputation with the Heat, all of a sudden people want me to introduce the bridal party like I introduced the starting five for the Heat, or the bar mitzvah boy, or the parents of the bar mitzvah boy. So hundreds of them. It's been something I never imagined in my wildest dreams. But boy, is it fun when you walk out in that reception and the first time they hear it, this is Michael Baiamonte, the voice of your Miami Heat, and everybody's turning around. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! It's
You got one more. You got one more in you, Mike B. Because I'm getting married next year. You got one more in you.
Solana, let's talk.
Did you ever think about this, Mike? I got to ask. Did you ever think about you doing this? Like, what athletes, high school, college, professional, did you ever think you were going to be what you've been? This is so cool to talk to you.
Crowder, I never thought it was going to be at this level. I mean, I starting at a pretty young age, teenager or whatever. I knew I really wanted to be a basketball announcer. And so I started doing it in high school. So it is something I knew I wanted to do, but did I ever think it would be to this level and to achieve some of the things I have? I mean, the NBA invited me to go to the All-Star game this year just so I could drop dos minutos in every quarter. I mean, that's just never in a million years would I have thought that. And again, growing up as a young kid, even in high school, there was no Miami Heat. So the NBA was a pipe dream because there was no team. I had no shot. How could I become an NBA announcer? Did I want to be? Yeah. Did I think I could be? No. And now look.
Man, Michael Baiamonte, what fans we are of yours, and we wish you well in your retirement. And we thank you on behalf of all of Heat Nation, Mike.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. Hawk, you and I go back almost the entire 35 years, and I appreciate the friendship and everybody. Been so nice. You guys are awesome. Thanks for having me on, and to the Heat fans everywhere.
We applaud
thank you
man.
for everything.
We applaud you. You earned that one. 35 years.
Mike,
All
turn
right,
around
Michael
sometimes.
Baiamonte.
I tried to dap you up. You never turned around.
You know what?
It was locked in.
Crowder,
Game time.
You and I will meet in the Hyde Lounge, or we'll meet in the Bacardi Lounge, or whatever, because I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I'll meet you there. We'll toast it up the right way. How's that?
I got you, brother.
He would have introduced you as Randolph Crowder, and he would have dared you to say anything about it.
Oh, that little table's not going to stop me from getting to him.
We'll see you, Mike.
Thank you, guys. Been a pleasure.